But I always tell them it was the same speed, but I'm passing so it doesn't make sense. I'm not on my info in our ship, but I think for no time I get the understanding. Otherwise, no policies on same speed.
Cool. On est sorti.
Mira, you never know. Gracias.
Kunenzira dzemasoja dzekozhe batanadzo terera imvemo yose nenzira dzakanaka kunenzira dzemasoja dzekozhe batanadzo yose nenzira dzakanaka tisave tinotora zvinhu zvemasi edu dzosera izvinhu zvose zvatorwa kumuvengi tisave tinotora zvinhu zvemasi edu dzosera izvinhu zvose zvatorwa kumuvengi taura izvinetsika uruzhinji rwevanhu kuti masinzwisise zvakananga musangano taura izvinetsika uruzhinji rwevanhu kuti masinzwisise zvakananga musangano tisaite cheupongwe muhondo yechimwenga tisanetse vasungwa watinenge tabata tisaite cheupongwe muhondo yechimwenga tisanetse vasungwa watinenge tabata.
Pamberi neSANU-PF, nekubatana, neWar Veterans, pasina Mugabe,
pasina here.
Kari pasi mafundi. Pame, tipo prayer. You must pray.
Atinamate. Msireni baba ni mwanakomana nemweya mutsvene. Amen. Mari baba taungana vanhu veiyo rusununguko kuve tichirangana zvatinorangana zvataingoita nguva dzehondo ishe. Makatichengeta tiri vana vaduku kusvikirira titore iyo nyika Mwari. Saka nanhasi Ishe Jesu Kristu tiri kurwiswa nekuda kwokuti takatora iyo nyika kumuvengi. Ishe Mwari ndimi munoziva Ishe tenzi zvataunganira pano. ndimi munoziva ishe tenzi zvatamukandira isusu ruzhinji vakasara kumakomo vakasara kumamhiri kwemakungwa ishe nesu takadzoka ishe mwari womusoro kudenga chivai nesu ishe tenzi mukati meimba ino pachataurwa neukuru hwese ishe tenzi pakati pedu pano ishe tugove tigoteerera ishe tenzi mashoko iwayo asvike ishe tenzi kwakuru venyika ino ishe Jesu Kristu tinokunamatai mangwanana ishe Jesu Kristu tinokunonga ishe Jesu Kristu nokuti makatiraramisa ishe tenzi muine chinangwa ishe tenzi chokuti tigotaura yegasi yenyika ino ishe Jesu Kristu kwaive kusiri kungwara kwedu ishe mwari womusoro kudenga asi makange makativhumbanira ishe Jesu Kristu handikunyarudzei mangwanano mani ndanamata nemuzinda nemuropa raishe Jesu Kristu amen. Amen.
Thank you, Comrade Kwame. Harare Province, you are welcome to this press conference. With us here, there are provincial chairman, Chimbo Silva, my chairman, my provincial chairman, one night is local. Icho! Amelok Batana! Amen. Asna Robert Gabriel Mugabe. Asna Asna Grace. Asna Aladima Gomez. Information. Secretary of Information.
Vamberi nechimurenga nekuzvitonga neruzhinji rwevanhu pasina Robert Mugabe pasina Grace
right ini tinozivana nditi. I'm the vice chairman of the Zimbabwe War Veterans Association. My name is Hetman Moyo. Asikana tasangana kuno. The Secretary General, who happens to be my boss. The Secretary General is a member of the Politburo in our association. He is our Secretary General, but the Politburo, in terms of party protocol, is the most senior Tinaipana. His name is very common. Is Victor Matematani.
Amandla. Amandla. Ilizwe. Pasina Robert. Pasina Grace. Pasina Reactionary. Pasina Watengesi. Pasina Utengesi wa Robert. Icho. Zimbabwe oye! Zimbabwe oye! Pasina America.
Pasina yo!
Attend.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think I should take this opportunity to thank the war veterans that are here, and the war veterans that are here are not only from Harare, they've gathered from throughout the whole country. And I think I want to inform the fraternity, the journalists, that when you see such things happening, you must understand that there is something amiss within the political arena of the Zimbabwe and the unfolding political developments in this country. The war veterans, it's unfortunate that people do not find the correct and the correct definition of who they are. They are the political barometer, they are the political thermometer that detects, that is responsible, that is managed to bring about a political opinion that grew up until 1980 when Zimbabwe got its political independence. War veterans are initially trained as soldiers, but the most important component of war veterans is the political aspect. The political aspect is the instrument that we use. It is the instrument upon which war veterans have always derived their way forward, their direction. This is how we have directed the revolution. And when you see us calling for press conferences like this, I want you to understand, and I think that the majority of you must have been surprised when you heard a slogan, Yukuti Pasana Robert Mugabe. What we are is a force, a revolutionary force. We are people who have been directed by the principles of the revolution. Principles of the revolution is what has been agreed by the people who participated in the liberation struggle as to what must be adhered to as a matter of agency, as a matter of demand, how one needed to conduct yourself and understand how we should go forward. There are three things that bind the revolution, and it is upon these three things that they become a measuring instrument as to whether one still remains directed or apanduka. It is the existence of a structure which I've always called a sacred revolutionary structure. Earlier on, it started with the one who is being said Pasinae today. And secondly, we've got the principles of the revolution, which is the principles. The principles are the ways that similar wars have been fought by countries that assisted us during the liberation struggle. And the interpretation of the principles is what we call ideology. It is upon these three that every one of us is measured by. And these people that you see here agree with one another among ourselves because of these three principles. It is these three principles that we have derived the principle of the revolution, that nobody is above the law. And the people alone are the makers of their own history. So we are responsible of directing the principles of the revolution of this country. And when we say the revolution of this country, we are not talking about where you find ZANU-PF leading, but where we also find even the opposition taking part in politics in Zimbabwe. It is part of what we think. It is out of these principles that today in Zimbabwe you find an opposition. There was no opposition during the Ian Smith regime, but we have allowed that to happen. So we have, as war veterans, observed the unfolding political developments in this country since the 18th of November, when we congregated at Mshandra Pamwe, and when we finally removed Mugabe after a bitter 2 years struggle against his endeavor to create a dynasty. We therefore are here today to do the same thing. You remember, I want to remind the world that you remember before the Politburo meeting, the Central Committee meeting, that ended up causing Mugabe to be expelled from the party. The war veterans had called for a press conference and expelled Mugabe and his people. But when we do things at the end of the day, because the party is supreme, we leave it up to the party to finally and fine-tune such positions. And today, we have seen, we have observed, we are concerned about the unfolding political developments. And it is our responsibility as revolutionaries, as a people's army, as a people's force, to once more call upon the Zimbabwean society to understand what we are going to say today. And unless we do so, in fact, we have no option, because that's the direction that will naturally be there. Finally, it is what the people will do, because you cannot stand in the way of a broken dam. You will be swept by the strong water coming from the dam. So really, it is these three, therefore, that I want you to understand. And when finally, when our Secretary General here then gives you the speech, you understand that it is based on these three, and that our society must pick a political opinion out of what we are saying, Because no matter you may not be a member of the party, ZANU-PF, that does not matter because your political opinion will always dictate to you what to say. What we are saying here is ZANU-PF will exist. MDC must exist. But it must exist without Chamisa, without BT, without Robert Mugabe. Because yesterday, Mugabe blamed the MDC for running down the economy of the nation, and when he is out of power today, he has now chosen Chamisa as for a political marriage, as a political ally. This is how we, against the principles that I told you, then we are saying, Pasina Mugabe, down with Mugabe. He has fallen by the wayside of the revolution. Comrade Matimandanda, can I ask you therefore to...
The chairman.
Can I ask the chairman therefore to proceed from where I have left?
Itife! Pasine Mandu! Pasine! Can you give us one song before we do?
Vazenze takava futsira.
Nepamsana bekura nyika yenu, yatakatana wapambe fumbi, ne anakomorera muri Zimbabwe. Kalandika tonderane amadziri basi, misozi inobva yabuda.
Comrade Matematanda, you are our secretary in the veterans of the liberation struggle in the political. Can you address us?
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Icho! Idipe! Mugabe tsa! Thank you, comrades and friends, and obviously, thank you, journalists, for coming. We are happy that most of you came to monitor and cover the process of our elections. And my thinking is that you were factual in your reporting. We are not here to school you on how to do your business, but we just hope and trust that you do it objectively. What Comrade Mahia was saying is that when we went to war, we had different definitions of who our enemies were. But once we got into the revolution, we were capacitated in a way that after being orientated, we knew what our enemy was. And we could, and even up to now, we can positively identify what we call an enemy of the revolution. When we talk of an enemy of the revolution, we don't try to find those from an opposition party. Remember, it is ZANU and ZAPU, ZIPRA and ZANLA, after having almost won the war in the liberation struggle, agreed at the 11th hour to go for an election that was to be supervised by the former colonial power, Britain, and of course, its allies. We did that knowing that we had fought to bring democracy to Zimbabwe. And we still stand by the fact that we brought democracy to the people of Zimbabwe. And if we brought democracy, we have opened the political space for everyone, for all opposition political parties, all opposition political opinions, to do what they think is best for them. This is why you saw over 100 political parties and a lot of independents contesting in the just past harmonized election. It is democracy at its fullest that we have fought for. You have heard me saying, Pasna America. America is not our enemy. But the big brother mentality of America is what we don't want. Our president has been very clear, trying to re-engage the world, trying to engage. He has done all, including opening every democratic space. He has done that. But we think that America, by extending the ZEDERA sanctions, they are slapping us in the face. America must know that they killed us. They supported those people that killed us when we demanded a one-man, one-vote, which is the basis of a democracy. But America chose to kill or support those that were killing us. And today, they want to dictate what goes on in Zimbabwe. Even judging us from post-election violence. An aggression that was done by the opposition, which they know. Where in America would the authorities let people destroy property and lives without reacting? Take, for example, in South Africa, you remember the Marikana. People were killed, but no sanctions were put. What double standard? We respect America, but we do not want the big brother mentality, the tendency to maintain international hegemony. We don't want that. I'm going to read about it, but I'm just saying, if America is going to behave like this, we are going to call upon our government to say, let us forget any effort to try to engage America. We want to engage people who respect us, people who take us as human beings. We are no longer slaves of the Americans. We know most of our people went to work in sugar plantations. And for anyone, with Trump included, to think that we are still patient slaves of America. No. No, we did not get this independence on a silver plate. We got it through the barrel of the gun. And we have not lost our guns. We have our armories. We can defend our revolution anytime. If they don't want to respect the African human race, we will ask them to do it. Because they killed us when we demanded the basic democratic right. Universal adult suffrage. They did not want to give us that until we had to die for it. America sponsoring bandits who were killing us. And today they want to maintain the big brother mentality. This, as war veterans, we are not going to accept. It is common cause, common knowledge that this dispensation that we have today is based on engagement and re-engagement. Comrade Mahia has been talking about the 18 November movement that was attended by all people of Zimbabwe, despite political affiliation or inclination. We all participated as Zimbabweans. That is re-engagement, which we did. So when we talk of re-engagement, we don't talk of overseas re-engagement. We talk of internal and external, yes. But all should be done in a respectful manner. ZANU-PF property was destroyed by MDC Alliance thugs at the instigation of their president, who hijacked the power from the back door. And I don't know why America does not tell Chamisa to learn how to democratically take power. They should have punished Chamisa for grabbing power from Thokozani Kupe. But they support the young Lumpen. Chamisa was clear from the onset that if he was not going to win, he was not going to accept the result of the election. He was very clear that the only fair result was his win. And America and every other so-called progressive nations did not ask the meaning of what he was saying. It was very clear that if they were not going to win, they had merchants of violence. And the international world did not bother to ask them what they meant. But they choose to punish us for defending our sovereignty. Our president was very clear. We were all very clear that we were not tolerating violence. Our president was asked whether he was going to surrender power in the event that he lost. He was going to lose the election. He declared that he was going to hand over power. The armed forces did that, but Chamisa refused. And the international community is silent about that. What double standard is that? In our view now, America and other countries, what becomes a fair result in an election is the winning of an opposition party. Look at the contestations that are being done and supported by America the world over. They choose to support losing political parties. Why? Because of their hegemony, international hegemony. They want to protect their superiority the world over. In Zimbabwe, the opposition parties, MDC are included, the opposition parties are not our enemies. We want opposition political parties and opposing political opinions. But what we will not accept is a person who goes to America and asks for the suffering of our people, extension of sanctions. Sanctions are a crime against humanity because you punish even the unborn. There is no president who suffers under sanctions. It is the ordinary people who suffer. And why do they want to squeeze blood out of us? Just because we are black? And we should dance to the tune of America, no matter what nonsense they give us? No. We don't want to be taken back to situations where we thought the white person was our enemy. We don't want that. We did not fight against a race. We fought against a system. And if this system is going to be perpetuated by America, then America becomes our enemy. Remember what they did in Afghanistan. Remember what they did in Iraq. Lying that they were weapons of mass destruction. And when they did not see even a hand grenade, no one punished them. Why? Because they are big brothers. Nonsense. That's rubbish. We cannot have a skewed world where America has got goalposts uphill and Africa has got goalposts in the valley, and then someone say, play football. How do you play? When one kick goes straight into the gate and you take years to climb the mountain. We don't want that democracy, and we don't see ourselves as an inferior race or with an inferior political ideology. What we have here is African democracy. It's not European, it's not American democracy. We define our own democracy. We don't take Abraham Lincoln's democracy definition. That is not ours. Ours is different from Abraham Lincoln because we are not his kings. He took himself for our master, enslaving us, and pretend to be a good friend. Nonsense. Let me read. I just was explaining why I said Pasina America. We are not inferior in everything. We are not inferior to any race, to any bloc, to any opinion. We are not inferior. This is why we conquered them in the battlefield. I will now read our statement. We, the veterans of the Zimbabwe War of Liberation, have been concerned by the behavior of America in the post-election period. The big brother tendency of America cannot be tolerated any longer. Zimbabwe in the new dispensation has deliberately taken a stance to promote international re-engagement with all nations. However, America, because of its hegemonic tendencies, has slapped us in the face through the extension of sanctions under ZIDERA. Whilst pretending to be a leader in democracy and dialogue, America in reality wants to squeeze blood out of poor nations of the world. They look blindly at the mass murders in Palestine and the whole of Middle East. They do not care about life. They only care about their international hegemony. An international campaign must be opened to expose America's duplicity until the world is aware of the massacres they have committed in Iraq, whilst lying that Iraq harbored weapons of mass destruction. America should also be exposed for what it has done in Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iran, and several other parts of the world. We as war veterans also want to condemn in no uncertain terms the traitors, Chamisa, Tavani Mompofu, and Tendai Biti, who have gone to the West to invite the extension of economic sanctions on Zimbabwe. Whilst we welcome the democratic idea of opposition political parties, we condemn in the strongest terms the political approach of the three who have chosen to perpetuate untold suffering to the people of Zimbabwe by calling on America to extend ZIDERA and continue the sanctions that have been at the root of the economic stagnation in Zimbabwe for many years now. If America believes in democracy, they would have taught Chamisa what democracy is. Chamisa grabbed power from Thokozani Kupe in complete defiance of the MDC constitution, but America did not even raise a finger. It is ironic that America is trying to promote democracy by supporting a person who does not himself believe and abide by the tenets of a democratic behavior. Surprisingly, America has not condemned him, but seemed to be cheering him on, even as he and Pitt have sought to sow anarchy in Zimbabwe. America has only looked with glee. How do you have a president of a democratic political party during a march pressing up? Whoever saw a person doing press up before going for lunch? People do not do press up exercises when they want to eat. They do that when they want to fight. The fact that Chamisa was pressing up in front of his supporters was actually a command that they must prepare for an eventuality that he was going to create himself. Because even today, he is very clear. He is inciting, if you look in today's papers, he is inciting people to refuse the outcome of the court decision, claiming to say that God and the people are going to refuse. Which God lives in the darkness? Which God? The MDC God? Or the God that we all know? But the international community is quiet. And no one would want to write about that, even from you journalists. No one wants to write about it. But you are seeing it. A person is trying to determine the verdict of a constitutional court, but no one talks about it. Why? Whilst we do not want to interfere with the internal affairs and management of the MDC, we believe that it is up to the real MDC people to stand up and reclaim their part from Chamisa and Biti. But Chamisa, who is now abusing it and working with failed politicians like Robert and Grace Mugabe. It defies all logic that on the 18th of November, the November 18 revolution, Chamisa was with us, condemning Mugabe.
Yes.
The MDC has been crying all along that Mugabe caused the disappearance of Zamara. And we felt pity for them and removed Mugabe for them, thinking that they would support us because we fought their war. We removed a monster that had, totally, destroyed the existence of MDC. But today, the same MDC is going to bed with Mugabe. What double standards? Do they have an ideology? What do the real MDC people say? What does Damara's family say today about Chamisa? How do they let him go mad like that? Less than 9 months ago, Chamisa was referring to Mugabe as a monster. And today he says he's a good old, I don't know whether he calls him a brother or because he's not even supposed to be alive because most of his age, people of his age are all dead. I don't know whether they call him his ancestor or what. But they are in political union. It defies every logic. I don't understand how the MDC operates, and it's a pity if people in the MDC are going to allow Chamisa a minute in leadership. Okay. They deal with failed politicians like Vanam Gabe, Jobu Sikala, Tendai Biti, Welshman Move, and many others who either dumped or were dumped by MDC when Tsvangirai was still alive. Tsvangirai must be turning in his grave to see a product, of course, of his one center of power tearing MDC into three. Because obviously, if it is the democratic of the movement of democratic change that is going to be mastered in tactics by Mugabe, it's unfortunate. And we know very well that even these court decisions are Mugabe's advice to Chamisa. And we know what they are aiming at. They know that Chamisa lost. They know that MDC lost. If it was MDC that had 145 House of Assembly seats and winning by 4.8, if ZANU-PF was in the position of MDC, the international community would have sailed. In fact, they would have celebrated. But they want to reverse what is clearly a win for ZANU-PF. But they know this is not going to happen. We don't want to talk about it much because it's still in the courts. But what we know is that they want to win the public opinion court so that people are going to have sympathy with the failed Chamisa in preparation for the 2023 elections. So that he keeps on saying, Dakabirwa, they stole a vote, this and that, which is nonsense, of course. And that is Mugabe's tactic. Even the idea of attacking ZANU-PF headquarters, it is Mugabe's ideas, we know. It was saying he was going to die in the streets if MDC was not going to win. But we found him in the streets of Zambia. How do you take the streets of Harare for Livingstone? Why do you fool, incite other people's children to go on the streets when you run away to Zambia? How many is he? I mean manhood. If he incites other people's children and he ran away himself. We did not run away from Mugabe. Everyone knows it. Yes. In fact, the police never came to us. We went to them whenever they wanted us. Because we knew what we were doing was right. And these are the results. We have a new dispensation. Why does it not want to wait for his results if he thinks he's right? He knows he's wrong. How can one run away from victory? You can't, obviously. They've lost. And what they want to confuse the situation. They want to give an impression that the President Idi Mnangagwa's leadership is not very clear, it's not morally right, but let the world know that the 2.8 votes are the morality of Zimbabwe. We do not expect the opposition to support us, America included. Because America has opposed Africa from time immemorial. They are the people that took us for slaves. And they will never see us as equal human beings. And we don't care about that. We will not ask for permission to do our things from America. No. But we want to engage those that are willing to move side by side with us. Not ahead of us or behind us. No, we don't want. America can do whatever it wants, but we are going to defend in all capacities our sovereignty. If it means that we'll die to the last man, we will die. Because God cannot create us for being second subjects to other people. No. We are very equal. We are very full. We are very human. We are very intelligent. We know what we are doing. This is why we have our country. And America have got their own America. Please, we are not slaves anymore. As for Mugabe, the naivety of Chamisa is exposed by the fact that during the November Revolution, the young man joined us in condemning Mugabe, who caused the disappearance of MDC activists such as Itai Dzamara. All of a sudden, Mugabe has become a saint and darling to Chamisa. That is treachery on the part of the young man. This is why we say that he should not get support from real MDC people. Those who voted Monzora ahead of Chamisa for the post of Secretary General of the MDC in their last Congress should now stand up and throw Chamisa to the political dustbin. We urge the real MDC supporters to democratically elect a successor to Tsvangirai. The MDC is now losing its ethos to the self-aggrandizement of the megalomaniac Chamisa. Chamisa is just like his newfound mentor, Robert Mugabe, power-hungry, autocratic, violent, and without an iota of the real tenets of the Zimbabwe people. Zimbabwe, like any other democracy, should have opposing political views, but not sellout tendencies of the clueless Chamisa. We as war veterans who fought for democracy in Zimbabwe do not ordinarily want to campaign against opposition parties, but we will safeguard the sovereignty which we fought for. Yes. You go to America today, they talk of their founding fathers. And they don't want to talk, they don't want us to talk of our legacy. Why? Because they are big brothers. They force us to believe in the Abraham Lincoln definition of democracy. Rule of the people, for the people, by the people. As though people agree on one thing at the same time. When you say the people, you mean the totality of the people. Is there a situation in the world where all people agree on one thing?
No.
No. No.
So Abraham Lincoln's definition of democracy is wrong. People do not agree. If they are normal, they don't agree on the same thing at the same time. And our definition of democracy is the rule of the majority that recognizes and respects the wishes of the minority. This is why MDC with the 63 MPs is going to be allowed to enter in the parliament that has got 145 ZANU-PF MPs. And even a person who won on the NPF ticket, one person is going to represent the few people that voted for him. That is recognizing and respecting the wishes of the minority. But they don't carry the day. They can't. What is the use of voting if we don't use the power that the people give us? So if we have a two-thirds majority, America should not cry when we amend our laws. Because we've been chosen to do that by the majority. And the majority is not America. The majority are the people in Zimbabwe who voted. And as war veterans, we respect and support the wishes of our people, not the wishes of America and Chamisa. We don't. If they want to win, let them wait for 5 years.
Yes. Yes.
As war veterans, we don't even see why the inauguration of our president is taking long. We don't, in us there is no logic. It's not like it's just another president who came from the bush. You are talking about a person who defined slavery, who knows what oppression is, who was sentenced to prison for wanting to be independent, sentenced to death. And surely that person cannot be judged on the same platform with Chamisa. Yes. You can't do that. That cannot be done in America. In America, that cannot be done. Why must it be done here? We are not going to follow American standards. We have our democratic standards. So, this parliament is going to be forced by the people of Zimbabwe to amend any law that gives power to outsiders. Because the big brothers are going to abuse us. When they abused our ancestors, they want to continue to abuse us, to impose themselves on us. No, we don't want. We are not going to work in the sugar plantations anymore. We can't. That is not going to happen. If America does not want to treat us as equal human beings, it can go and live in a world that it wants, but not in Zimbabwe. We are going to campaign in Africa, the world over, to make people know the diabolic tendencies of America, especially under Trump. And the Bushes and the cowboys, the Reagans. Anyone who wants to take over leadership of this country should do so guided by internal democracy as dictated by the Constitution of this republic. The international community led by America are portraying that this election was not run properly. they are condemning ZEC. And now they are looking at the courts to wait for a result and say, this is wrong or this is right. But we are not going to take American law to determine how we run Zimbabwe.
Yes.
We don't want Americans to take our constitution to run America. Let them use their constitution and we use our constitution.
Yes.
The president-elect won by 50.8%. Full stop. We do not want anyone to approve what we did because it was not done outside our borders. It was done by us here in Zimbabwe. We know what we did. We know how we voted. We don't need America's approval. No. Because we know what we sowed. And we are reaping what we sowed. We will not be dictated on how to run our democracy by America. We want international partners that walk side by side with us, not ahead of us or behind us. Our democratic system is different from that of America because we fought for our freedom from America and Europe. These are the same people who killed us for demanding one person, one vote. We are not fooled that they would all of a sudden wake up to be the champions of our democracy. They don't care about our freedom. All they want, all they care about are their own interests and perpetuation of Zimbabwe as a failed state. This is why they are pouring water on the tremendous efforts that President Mnangagwa has made in opening up the democratic space in Zimbabwe. We are not naive. America can't now want to teach us the same democracy that they killed us for. They can't. Zimbabwe may not want to worry about re-engaging America, but all other countries that are showing willingness to work with us based on mutual respect, we are indeed open for business, but not the business of being abused by America. We have not forgotten that America enslaved Africans, using our people against each other and creating Uncle Toms. We as war veterans will not tolerate modern day Uncle Toms like Chamisa and BT, Mpofu included. Just as America respects the views of their founding fathers, they should never imagine that we as Zimbabweans will lose sight of the ideals that we fought for. This is why we removed Mugabe, for deviating from the core values of our revolution, hence restore legacy. The same goes for opposition that seeks to promote the superiority of a former oppressor. We want to put it very clearly that we can do without those who previously oppressed us, as long as they still hold those oppressive tendencies. The British also need to be very clear on whether they now want to re-engage us as equal partners or not. We have applauded the positive indicators made by Theresa May, but lately, Britain seems to be drifting back to their former position of Tony Blair. We condemn that we demand that Britain comes out clearly so that we know if they are with us as we move to re-establish our rightful position among the community of nations. We yearn for mutual tolerance and respect. These are the democratic principles we cherish. They hold true with nations as they do at the levels of international relations. I thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Secretary General. Our lovely brothers and sisters from media houses. Can you ask some few questions, maybe 2 or 4, if there are any? Yes, my brother.
Mine is just on a lighter note.
Can you,
my name is Robert Shafmani.
Sorry, my brother. Can you tell us which media house you are?
My name is Robert Afmani. I'm from Slide Media. When you said personal Robert, my colleagues were looking at me and said, I hope you meant
His colleagues or your colleagues?
Yeah, when you said
Your
personal
colleagues are not part of our revolution.
Yeah, but they looked at me and said,
Okay. Okay, also say.
Robert, I was the personality.
Oh. No, we have, you know, like he said, when we went to war, we did not have the capacity to identify an enemy. But from what we were taught, we know how to identify an enemy. And in fact, Robert Mugabe does not become the first person from leadership to sell out. Many did it before him. And in any case, Robert Mugabe was over-honored for what he did not do. He led the liberation struggle for 3 years and became an icon. But we've got people like Stepo, who led 12 years before him. They don't have an international airport named after them. And in fact, we are going to demand the removal of Robert Mugabe's name. We are tomorrow we are going to our Harare International Airport, not Robert Mugabe. Yes. To demand the removal of Mugabe's death. Yes. And we'll ask our leaders to put names of our heroes. Yes. Mugabe's failed. Yes. The position of Nyati is the position in which Mugabe is today. Right. Trying to destroy the revolution at the 11th hour. We cannot have the face of the world, the face of Zimbabwe to the world, the international airport, given a name of a last-minute traitor. We can't. It must be changed, removed. We don't want it. Yes, we will.
Yes,
Okay.
Can you speak up?
My name is Evans Matanda from TechMed. You say that Zimbabwe should deal from developing. Is it that is going to affect Zimbabwe in the process of communication?
Zimbabwe dealing?
Should dealing from
We said we are for re-engagement, but we don't want to re-engage with two big brothers. Kuita chipopi. That's not what we want. We want people that are going to treat us as equal partners, as equal human beings. Not the big brother tendency. We don't want that. We fought against that, in fact. You were not born yet. But we fought, we were killed for wanting to be equal. Remember, Africans were not allowed to drink a castle beer by the same ones. And we cannot tolerate that today. They refused the right to Africans to walk in First Street. And we cannot have that today. We can't. Even when we go to New York, we walk in the street that this Trump walks on. This is for blacks, this is for what? No.
Yes, you are going to be the last one, mate.
Oh yes, my name is Obey I'm from Newsday.
No Bema night anobva ku Daily News. Newsday.
Yes. Alright, in your opening remarks, you spoke about the manner in which the authorities responded to the August 1 protest by the so-called NBC members. You then gave an example of the Marikana massacre. So I wanted to find out from you, are you condoning what happened on that day? The killings.
Which day?
August 1. I'm referring to August 1.
Condemning what?
You didn't get the question. On your opening remarks, you spoke about the manner the authorities responded to the street protests.
Which authorities?
Then you went on.
Which authorities?
Or you were saying we don't have to fold our hands when things like this are happening. You gave an example of Marikana. So in my question, I want to get it clear from you. Do you think what happened on that day is right?
Well, I don't want to answer you in the way I would have answered you, because I'm a soldier. No one can claim responsibility of a bullet. How do you know that it is my bullet or your bullet that kills an enemy? Can you tell me? Because a bullet is not a thing that moves 1 kilometer a minute. Flash. How can you say so and so killed? When people came into the streets prepared for violence, do you know what they were carrying? You don't know.
No, myself.
No, I'm answering. I'm not accusing you. But I'm saying the way a civilian would answer to that question and the way I answer from a military point of view is different. No soldier can claim the responsibility of a bullet, because you cannot follow it to see that it's this bullet that came from this gun which killed a person. So I don't want to answer that one. Hello.
Your anxiety.
No, my question was basically related to what he asked, because I also wanted clarity to say, what are your thoughts?
What I was saying was, if America condemns what happens, gives condemning, I don't care, but put sanctions for what happened, referring to what happened on August 1. Why did they ignore the massive Marikana massacre on people that were running on the street? I don't want to talk about people who died on August 1 because I don't know whether they were participants or they were just caught on crossfire. But I'm saying you have people that had a permitted demonstration who got killed, and America did not give a word. Why? But you have whether these people were caught on crossfire. But they were in front of people that were throwing stones. You go to 4th Street, Harare province, ZANU-PF Harare province, offices were destroyed. Buses' property was burnt and so forth. And you go to here at ZANU-PF headquarters, buses and everything were destroyed. People come to attack a part headquarters. Why do they fight ZANU-PF when they've got a query against ZEC, if you want? What is the logic of saying ZANU-PF has got a winning candidate from an election that has been being run by ZEC, but you go and attack ZANU-PF offices instead of attacking ZEC? Why? So those were enemies of ZANU-PF. Yes. Clearly. Yes. And how, from an uninformed point of view, you wake up, find your home surrounded by people holding noble carries stones, and how are you expected to react? Unless if you had planned the fight. But if you wake up, come out from your office, you find people throwing stones, destroying property. What law condemns you for reacting? It's American law. Yes. Yeah.
Iti fe. Asine mandu.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's no joke that we do not want people to believe that Mugabe has done much from the day he joined the liberation struggle. So the renaming of Harare International Airport as Mugabe, it is not proper. Therefore, the war veterans, like what the Secretary General has said, wants to ask our authorities to remove the Robert Mugabe name at the airport. After all, it was done this way. Therefore, we are going to hand over this petition to the authorities so that the Mugabe issue at the airport is removed with immediate effect. Yeah. So I will read what is what the contents of this petition for the benefit of the journalists and the war veterans that are here. Harare International Airport was named Robert Mugabe International Airport in honor of Mr. Robert Gabriel Mugabe, former president of the Republic of Zimbabwe. At that time, at that material time, the Youth League, led by Kudzai Chipanga, fiercely advocated for the change of the name and subsequently forced the name down the throat of the entire nation. You know that story? Yes. As war veterans of the liberation struggle, we no longer believe that Mr. Robert Mugabe deserves such an honor and the respect which go hand in glove with the legitimate and the legal de jure recognition that should be accorded to someone who has deliberately, negligently, and knowingly taken a betrayal stance and only likened to the blood dripping sellout of Maurice Nyati. His open hostility to the war veterans his insatiated appetite to demolish a once successful thriving economy, his lack of apathy and sympathy to the sanction ravaged Zimbabweans justify our petition to withdraw that name forthwith. Presently, the offer given to him by Operation Restore Legacy, which is a subsisting intention meant to recoup his tattered history, littered with the obscenities of betrayal, was never reciprocated by warm acceptance. This is a classic example of a relationship that is irretrievably broken down with irreconcilable differences and the irredeemable state. He is penchant to ignore best advice in pursuit of egoistic posture has had a devastating cost to the party ZANU-PF and the country at large. The original agreement that the party will and shall remain perpetually alive, whilst individuals who stray from the party line should be left by the wayside should be adopted. The new dispensation is ushered in democratic freedom for one to choose who Mr. Mugabe wanted to associate with, and his choice was nakedly and brazenly demonstrated when he chose of an unholy matrimony with MDC Alliance. His desire to create Mugabe dynasty has no ideological resonance with the original ZANU-PF. Judiciously guided by an acceptable old adage that you must be respectable if you will be respected, gives us ample justification to withdraw his name, lest we will be painted with the same brush of political renegades and unrepentant opportunists. Yes. His adamance and blatant obstinacy show not even the remotest speck of contrition. He has exhibited the worst qualities of leadership by demonstrating poor integrity, lack of adaptability, myopic vision, and despicable loss of accountability. Worsening his weakness in his exaggerated ego, which falls within the armpit of the know-alls, which Comrade Mao Zedong termed the most ridiculous people in the world. The name Robert Gabriel Mugabe, will forever be remembered for a leader who abandoned the sheep as a shepherd who handed over the flock to the ravenous wolves, a commander who sacrificed his soldiers on the altar for political expedience. Yes. The first port of call to any international airport must evoke confidence to any would-be investor or tourist, rather than to be greeted by a name notoriously associated with the dictatorship, oppression, and repression. Last but not least, he proved to be a political abortionist who allowed the usurpation of his presidency to clueless wife, leading an uncouth faction. Propelled by the desire to portray the image of Zimbabwe in good light, the historical and the future leaders of ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, we humbly and honestly present our petition. To have the airport name changed. I thank you. So finally, we will have this petition handed as we go to the international airport, where we will hand over this petition to the authorities who are responsible for withdrawing the name. I thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Our colleagues from the media houses, we thank you very much. We are loving people. We are so wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
No, you did.